Hi everyone, standing here with a Skybound Cedar. Now the Skybound Cedar is the hardiest for the Calgary area. Now the Skybound Cedar versus the Wichita Juniper, other than its color, it's a beautiful vibrant green. They're usually a lot more green because it's dead of winter. They do lose a little bit of their color, just like the Wichita would in the winter months. The key is again, drainage, and they like more consistent water. Even after 1 or 2 years after planting, they always like to have intermittent watering. The first year you plant it, the first 2 years, you want to give it consistent water at least once a week. If you're on an irrigation system, something that the cedar does actually quite enjoy. Great perimeter planting. They're excellent, obviously, for privacy. And if you want a different color texture, sometimes I mix them up. I'll put on one side, I'll put a blue, and the other side, like a Wichita, or I'll use the Skybound near the house or along the perimeter fence lines. Most cedars are not hardy for our area. This is one that will do well. If you live out on an acreage, you will need some wind protection. That doesn't mean they're not hardy, unless you already have a perimeter shelter belt with other species. But if you're planting these closer to the house, they do need, adequate sunlight, but they are better evergreen for a microclimate area. As long as it has wind protection, they do great. So within city limits, they do really well in the Chinook climate, which is another thing is why cedars don't do as well. We don't have the humidity, and we get this wonderful weather, beautiful warm weather that comes in called the Chinook, and it brings a lot of wind with it, and they can wind burn. So very hardy, but they do need wind protection. So it's not really so much survival of the fittest, it's survival of where they're planted. But otherwise, it's a great tree. Again, drainage is key for survival. Get that water passing through that tree. I talked about it with many trees, and it's something that's not revolutionary. It's just something that a lot of people have to understand. They think, well, my yard's sloped, so I have good drainage. That's great for overland drainage, but that moisture will get into that root zone. And if the water is sitting in that root zone for excess period of time, you will get that tree to set back, and eventually you can desiccate the tree, and it becomes chlorotic, and most people think, I need fertilizer, am I watering it too much? Most of the time that's not the case. Fertilization in the spring, of course, is key. They're a lot more vibrant green in the summer months. This is actually a good time to show it in the dead of winter. Before we plant the tree, we will dig the hole twice the width, but not any deeper. But in that hole, we'll drill another hole that's 4 or 5 inches, 3 to 4 feet down, believe it or not. We'll go down that deep, and we'll fill it up with drainage rock. Just drainage rock, not mixed with soil. All that excess water slowly goes down into this cavity. Most people would put that type of a situation, which is called a French drain, at the end of their downspout. I put them right below each plant that I plant. I've lived on an acreage for many years, grew up on a farm. We always had piles of rock around, and we always put that below the tree for excess drainage. Most areas where there's new developments, the drainage is not that great. So subsurface drainage is critical. Give these a try. They're a great plant. We like them, and they get quite nice and thick and full. They'll get up to 12, 13, 14 feet easily. Depending on your conditions, they will go larger than that. Once they become more established and you're starting to see new growth, they continue growing. Third week of April right through until September, they continue growing. Why I'm bringing this up is that to keep them nice and full and compact, once a year would probably, I'm thinking more like every 2 years in our area, you would shear them just like you would shear a hedge. You would give them a shear and just shear the tips, and it keeps them nice and thick and full. That's pretty much the only maintenance you have to do, other than I talked about the drainage. So enjoy, and have a good day.